دوستان سلام خیلی خوشحالم
Uh, Dear
که
friends,
کنار
hi and hello.
گزار دادمهر
Welcome to Data-Driven Market Research. I am
دوستان عزیزی که تو
Rasoul Ghanbari, and I would like and
حوزه
I would hope
فینانس
to
قرار
have
گرفت
a good
دوستان خوش
presentation
اومدید
with our three
سلام عرض
veterans
میکنم خدمت
here.
دوستان من عنایتی هستم
Hello
مدیر تحقیق
everyone, I
بازار
am
آژانس
Enayati, Market Research
خوشحالم
Manager
که در
of
خدمتتونم
the
خالص
agency of
بندرعباس و
Olga,
تمام مردمی که
and I would
ایشالله
like to
تسلیت
say
بگن امیدوارم
offer
که
my condolences
همیشه از
to
اتفاقای
the
بد
people of
دور
our
باشید
country
مرسی
for
ممنونم
the
آقای
tragedy that happened
ورقایی
in Bandar
آقای
Abbas. We have
شریفی
dear
بازار
Dr. Vargaei, Market Research Manager of Color Agency. He is the CEO of that agency.
سلام پیرمرد
Uh,
دوستان
Hello
جناب آقای
and
قنبری
welcome everyone.
عرض کردن
I
خدمت
am,
شما
and
و
also I would like to thank Mr.
خانم
Ghanbari
سرکار خانم
who
فروشانی
invited
که
me.
عضو
I would like to
هیئت
have a good
علمی
panel
جلسه خوبی
and
و
good
پژوهشی
مرسی
هستش
presentation with our dear friends
ممنونم
here.
حالا نمیدونم
Thank you,
صدای
and I
من
would like
میاد
to
آقای
also apologize for my
ورقایی دارین
delay.
صحبت میکنید
I don't know if it's
خوبه
the microphone's
الان خوبه
problem or is it
من
just you
با
that you're
اجازهتون
speaking
منم بشینم
quietly.
و شما
Is that
بفرمایید
alright? Let me sit now
خانم
and then we'll
پروشانی میکروفون
begin.
دارم ببخشید بابت این ناهماهنگی
Ms.
ظاهرا دیروز
Kushanini,
طوفان زده و همه چیز به
I,
هم ریخته من
it seems that there has been
خورده
a storm
تاخیر دست
yesterday,
میدم
and
اگر اجازه فرمایید از
that's
خانم پروشانی
the
شروع
reason of
کنم
our delay.
اولین نسل از
Let's start
که
with Ms.
حوزه تحلیل بازار
Kurushani,
خیلی خوش
a
اومدید خدمت
representative from the
شما
first
عرض میکنم خدمتتون
generation.
سلام
Uh,
که
First
تجربهشون
of
رو به ما
all,
بدن در
welcome.
هر کار به خصوص
Uh,
تجربه
Obviously, your
تحقیقات
experience is going to be
محصولات
very helpful to us. Experience
خانم
in
پروشانی یه
the Trade
مشکلی ما
Association for
همیشه
Market
در
Research
ایران
in Iran.
داشتیم
Ms.
این بود
Krushani,
که
we've always
گاهی
had a
ما
problem
شروع میکنیم
of
بعد میبینیم
doing the
مارکت
job
خودش
first, starting the
خندق
job
میگیره
first, and then
قبل از اون
thinking about
نمیبینیم
what they
مارکت
to go with
تحلیلاتی
that.
انجام بده و بسنجیم و
Before that, we
مثلا
don't really do the due diligence and research.
این خیلی هم مشخصه دیگه شما وقتی
This
آمار
is something that's clear.
درآمدهای تحقیقات بازار سهم
It's
تحلیلی
clear
شرکت
that
رو
when you
نگاه
don't,
میکنید به زحمت
when you
به
look at our
مثلا 200
GDP
میلیون
and
میرسه حالا خیلی اگر اوور استیمیت بکنیم احتمالا یک همت دیگه
if
نهایت
we
ممکنه
overestimate
نباشه
it, it can actually get
هستش
to 500
نتیجهش
million.
چی میشه نتیجهش اینه که خیلی ما
And
شکست
what does that
هاش
result in?
شما دارید
It
میبینید
results
که
in a lot
نسبت
more
شکست یک
failures and a
شرکت
lot more
مثلا شرکت
companies going
داخلی یک به دو
bankrupt
یک به ده اینجوریه
in
تو
here.
ایران خب خیلی
In
بیشتره
a,
مثلا
a country
شرکت
like
مثل
Iran,
آلمان هست
a,
ولی
comp-
توی
a company
استارتاپ ها خیلی
going bankrupt is
بیشتره
like 1 to
اگر
10, 1 in
یک
10.
درصد
But
استارتاپ
that's
ها
way more in
موفق
Iran.
بشن
And the
احتمالا
percentage of that in
99%
startups is
موفق نمیشن از همون
more,
استارتاپی که موفق
and
میشن
way more in other
یک
countries
دلیلش
like
البته اینه که خب هزینه
1 in 1,000 startup
تحقیقات
companies might succeed. One of the reasons of that is
فکر
that the
میکنید که
cost of
ما
market
کسانی که
research is
سالهاست
quite
تماس
expensive.
بوده با شرکت های
From
تحلیلی
a perspective of
مختلف
your own, who has been in
استارتاپ ها
the market for years and has worked with
انجام
other
دادن کم هزینه
international
ترین
companies as
شرایط
well,
بود ولی دیتا
what do you think
نهایی
about how do
رسمی
you think companies should approach market
مثلا این
research?
خدمت
How would they
تکنیکال
get
مؤسسات و بقیه چیزهایی که ما میبینیم
a good market analysis without breaking the bank, so to speak? I believe that these startups are more focused on innovation and ideas and offering services. They're mostly focused on the idea itself, not so much on doing due diligence and research. And how would they approach, market research? That actually falls on us. That's our responsibility to provide services for them that are less expensive, more agile, because usually startups usually need more agility. They might not have enough capital to support these kind of services or get these services, and they need to be more informed about their idea. They might not know if their innovative idea that they're working on might have a space in the market or no. Does it have a space? Does it have its own space in the market or no? And what needs is it answering in that kind of thing? They need to be more informed on that, and they need to know how processes are going through. They need to they need to verify their business model and their ideas. And beyond that, it is our responsibility to put forth a solution for them to be able to quickly and economically solve their own issues and get better knowledge of their own customer base and the industry they're stepping in. Well, thank you. And I also want to ask Mr. Vargaei, as I understand, you have a platform that offers businesses reports that are already done and finished, and you either uh, cultivate them yourselves or other companies, and you sell these to companies. There's a problem in our country that there's a lack of data, and companies don't really publicize their data. And even if the data could be useful for another client, we don't really allow them to acquire the data that has already been curated for other clients. We don't allow them to be used for other clients. And you, with the founding of your platform, have kind of solved that issue. But I think the problem is bigger than that. There's a lack of data. I was reading a book last night about the records of national debt of a country like US that goes back a lot more years than it does in Iran. The data is way more. So the question is this: how would you solve this issue? Like, there's not a lack of data, but it's not very available.
ممنونم از
If you go to different websites, there are
مشکلی که من داشتم با
data, but
دیتاهای
you don't
قبلی
really know
که
how to use
حالا
them.
اول و آخر
I had a
گزارش
problem
خاصم
with
همون
your
مقدار دیتا هست همون که شما
question.
گفتید
You,
ما
you seem to contradict yourself.
عنصر اصلی رو در مورد
Like you
دیتا
said,
نمیدونیم
the main problem is
اتفاقا
not
وزارت
a lack of
گزارش
data.
داده داریم در
We
منطقه
in
گزارش
every
کرده بانوان
ministry
گزارش کرده
have a research
صنعت
center.
ما تو پلتفرم
In
سوبازار
every
که
ministry,
اشاره فرمودیم
the beginning in our
شروع کردیم
platform,
جمع‌آوری همین
at the
دیتاهای
beginning,
گاورنمنتال یا
we were
گاورنمنتالی
collecting
که
these governmental
هستش
data.
کمبودی نیست ما
And yes, we saw that there is no
در تمام
lack of
وزارتخانه
data.
ها گزارش های خیلی
In
خوبی رو راجع به
every
دیتاهایی که تو
ministry, there
سالهای
are
انجام شده
a lot of reports. In other
میخوام
places, they've
همینو
been
بگم
done,
اصلا مشکل قبل
in
از بروز بودن دیتاها
and
نظم
they've been
دیتاها
updated as well.
خود
But the
وزارت خانه
problem is not
نمیتونست مثلا ما 10
them
سال
updating
پیش
them;
یک
it's
پژوهش
just
مدرنی
not
داشتیم چون
organized.
وزیر عوض
Even
شده
if
مدیر
even the
عوض
minister
شده اصلا
didn't really
دیتاش
know
براش خاک
some
میخوره
of the reports that had taken
و
place.
یکی از کارهایی که ما تو سوبازار یه تیم
And
گذاشتیم
one of the
که
things
فقط
that we
بیاد
did
اینا رو تحلیل
in
کنه اصلا ما ببینیم چه
our
دیتاهایی از
platform
کدوم
was
وزارتخونه
just
و تو کدوم
having a
پژوهشگاه
team
هست و
to just
همین
go through the
ادامه داره
reports
تا
and go
الان
through
که هنوز
every
هنوز
ministry's
چیزی اصلاح
archives
نشده هم
and
درسته
see
شاید
how
در
they go.
گزارشات
And
و وبسایت
unfortunately,
مدرس
their
بین
approach hasn't
حدود
changed.
80 تا
They're still not very
90 تا
organized.
3800
Even
تا
the
چیز
reports and
اینجوری
data that
ولی
we
همین
do
هم که
have
تو 10
is
سال
just
20
not
سال اخیر
organized.
هستش نظمی وجود نداره خب ما اینو میذاریم کنار با بحث
So let's
دولت
just put
کاری
that
نداریم
aside.
چون
We can't really do
اصلاحاتش
anything
هم که
with
میبینیم غیر
the
ممکنه
government because to
خود بخش
rectify them
خصوصی از وقتی
is
که
quite an
استارتاپ
impossible
قدیمی که الان تبدیل
task.
شدن به شرکت های
But
بزرگ
what we can talk
معدن
about is the
دیتا
public
هستن ما
sector.
نیاز به
But
استاندارد
in the
داریم
public
چون
sector, the big tech
بزرگترین
companies that we
های
do
دیتا
have
در ایران هستن
are basically a mountain of evidence, a
مشکلی
mountain
که
of
هست در واقع
data.
ارتباط
But the problem that we do have
کمبود
is
علم و
there's a
شرکت های
lack of
تحت گزارش
communication
با این شرکت ها بوده
uh,
جایی که
uh,
یک
between
استخر عظیمی از
public
دیتا هست
market
میشه
research
استفاده کرد
agencies,
از اینها
and
و
there's no lack of
الان
communication
چیزی
between
که
them
ما در
and these
بیرون
companies, these big
میبینیم
companies.
خلاصه شده به گزارشات سالانه
What the data
خیلی
that we can observe on our own
بازاری و
is not very
بدون اینکه
portrayed in
فقط من
the
اینقدر
big tech
مشاهده
companies'
بکنم
reports,
اگه
annual
مشاهده منو
reports.
از اینجا
They
تا
just talk about
قم
the number of
صحرای
clients they
استخر
have,
بلند میشه اینقدر که اینا
and
در این حده ولی اینکه در
um,
پشت
it's
پرده
not
از این
very
دیتاها اگر استفاده میشه و
nice.
قطعا میشه
Uh,
نمیدونیم اما بحث ما
we don't really know if
امروزه
these
اینه که
data are
این
being put to
دیتاها
good use or
باید
not. But
ایجاد بشه و به
what we're
فروش
talking about
برسه یا
is
منتشر
the
بشه
reports of
مثل
these big
اینکه
companies that
سوبازاری
need to
هستن
be
ریپورت هایی که تولید میکنن
existent and
همین
also
استارتاپ هایی که اینو
sold.
فرمودین میخوان استفاده کنن
These
ما
reports
اینجا
can solve a
مشکل
great
داریم
deal of
مشکل قابل حل
problems for
من دولت رو فعلا
startup
غیر قابل
companies.
حل میدونم
And
این
this is
مشکل
something
مشکل
that
قابل
that's a problem
حلیه
that's
که با
solvable. I
صحبت
don't see the
با
government's problem being
شرکت های
solvable,
تعهد بازاری
but
که فکر کنم 100%
if market
خصوصی هستن
research
100%
agencies
شرکت
that are
شرکت
100%
هایی که پر از
in the public
دیتای
sector, all of them,
خیلی ارزشمند
and also
هستن
they need
میتونن
to
ارتباط هایی اصلا با
communicate
همین
with
پنل ها و همین
these big
جلسات
companies, maybe
برگزار
even
بشه
through
یا
this
بشه.
panel
من
and
فکر کنم
through
از
these
اینجا
events.
اگر شروع بشه ما به این
If we
مشکل
start from here,
کمتر بخوریم.
we can actually put an end to this problem or even
غیر از پنل
face it
آقای
less.
انایتی صحبت
I was
کردن
actually having a
یکی
conversation with
از
Mr. Anna
شرکت های
Enayati.
بزرگ همونایی که اسم بردم
Big
مجموعه
companies that you guys
مؤسسه
named,
های علمی
not
رو کاهش میدن
market research agencies.
بازی تعداد
Uh,
بازار
t-
میزان
to avoid
اطلاعات
too many expenses, they all most of the time they have a department on their own allocated to market
و میگم
research,
اتفاقا
and
چون
the
ما
managers of that there are not really all
اساسا میدونیم
that
این
experienced.
مقدار
Mr. Nati said that we're looking at it idealistically. We can't really just copy the solutions that we've seen abroad. We need to look more internally and see what solutions we can have in Iran itself. But so, Mr. Anati, is the question is this: even though the data we have is not does not seem to be too useful, as our friend said, there might be a gold mine. How would we use those data to make the market bigger? Well, I would like to say your question has several answers in several areas. At first, you said that market research is costly, but I would actually disagree. I would say based on the solutions that market research offers, it is not really all that expensive. If you even look at the market, the international market, most companies would allocate about 3 to 7% of their income in market research. I'll ask you this: which Iranian company has allocated even 1% of their income? And how useful has that market research has been compared to its price? So in my opinion, market research is not at all expensive. It has its own worth, and I believe that worth is can be calculated based on the company's profits and income. And unfortunately, in our society, there's no statistical perspective on things. In our educational system, most people are obsessed with engineering degrees and medical degrees. And as you know, in our higher educational system, most people are obsessed with those. And these kind of majors and these kind of degrees are just left for people who don't get accepted into those. That's why we don't really have a statistical perspective on in companies or even in our general public. As an example, let me say this. Let's say I have a beauty company, pharmaceutical company, and I want to have a promotion in pharmacies overall in countries. How can I get the list of pharmacies in our country? All of these pharmacies have obtained licenses from some place, and that place should have a website with a list, updated list. Even if it's for sale or even for free, I I am willing to pay for them, but it is a very easy to set up databases, but they're a matter of licenses, but we don't even have those. And then you're asking us about data that is more secretive and more lucrative in terms of businesses. And that's something that we see not in our businesses, not in our government, and not in our general public. We have a statistical perspective on things. Like if we have these statistics, we would those statistics would talk to us and will tell us where the market should go in order for it to succeed. And I see the only way to succeed is people in the government and higher offices change their literature and change the way they speak, and also have foreign companies be active in here. If we haven't seen those in places, we see that they've regressed or we've haven't really improved much. Let me agree with Mr. Enayati, and I want to say something to supplement one of his ideas. Yes, market research in Iran has been somewhat ignored Most companies really don't pay attention to it. And if you really compare the cost of market research to marketing in general, it's something that you can see it has been ignored. Uh, there are just a few companies who've integrated market research into their agenda, and even those don't really act upon those ideas. They just outsource them and use the data gathered in their own internal groups, and that's something I want to stress. Uh, if you compare this to the other type of costs that we have, market research is not that expensive as is believed. I also wanted to say something. When you were speaking, you said that foreign companies, yes. I believe that I actually agree with him on this as well. The existence of foreign companies and foreign brands and offering services or other things, it can really have a great deal of accomplishments for us in terms of technology, in terms of research, in terms of everything, to be honest. And also wanted to supplement one of your other things you've said. We should use these technology and researches, and we should actually we can be able to localize them as well. We can use their ideas and use their influence and localize them and use them in development of our own country.
من برای تو یه
Thank you.
مثال میزنم.
I was gonna
جاهای
give you an
بزرگی
example.
غالبا افراد
In
خودشون میتونن بانک‌های
notarized
دولتی و
banks
خصوصی رو با هم
in
مقایسه
Iran,
کنن و بگن که
you
سطح
can
رضایتشون
compare
تو این چند سال از یک
governmental
کشور به چه
banks and
شکلی بوده.
also
بیشتر افرادی که این هستن دارن از
banks from
حساب
the
بانک‌های
public
خصوصیشون
sector.
استفاده میکنن به عنوان
Everyone
بانک
here can
رسمی
compare
و
them
از
on their
حسابهای
own.
دولتیش و چه
Which do
میشه
you
خیلی
use
راحت
more?
قابل محاسبه
Banks from the
کرد.
public
بانک‌های
sector or
دولتی به
banks
علت
from the government, like
خدمات
governmental
رسانی به
banks?
مشتری یا B2C
Because these
انقدر
banks,
قشنگه
the
خیلی
governmental
شفاهی هم
banks,
نداره
are
نسبت
not
به
really
بانک‌های دولتی که دارن
active in
بازرسی
their
میکنن.
B2C
یکی
and
از بانک‌ها باز نسبت به
services they
بقیه‌شون
provide.
متفاوت بوده. توی
But
بانک‌های دولتی کدوم بانک
one
هست
of
که
these
افرادی
banks
بهش
is
اعتماد
actually has been
داری؟
performing kind of different and has been offering good services. Which one do you think it is?
بقیه
I
چی؟
believe it's Melli Bank
ملت. شما چی؟
and
ملت.
others
بانک
Millet,
ملت تو
Millet,
بانک‌های دولتی
Millet
باز تو
Bank.
خدمات
Uh,
رسانی به
in
B2C
terms of
میتونن بگن به نسبت
governmental
بقیه‌شون
banks and
متفاوته. خیلی
B2C
از
offering
کسب و
services
کارها هنوز
has been
تحت
quite the
ابتکار قرار
standout.
گرفتن.
I think
تقریبا حدود
about
15 سال
15
پیش این کار
years
کرده بود
ago
که
that
ملت یه
Millet
مشاور
Bank
خارجی
actually
آورد تو ایران که این مشاور
hired a
HSBC کار کرد و
foreign
مقاومت برای ریبری
consultant
و
in
اومد
its
یه سری
services,
تحقیقات
and
تحقیق
that
بازار تو ایران انجام
consultant
داد که
actually
با
had
نتیجه این
a
تحلیل
couple of
بانک
market research
دولتی و بانک
projects
خصوصی بشه و
take
خودش
place, and
درگیر
actually
همین روند رشد
saw
بقیه
that
بانک‌های
the general
دولتی
public is
هست و
moving
نگاه
away
مصرف
from
کننده یا
uh,
انفرادی نباشه.
banks
بعد
from the
از این
government and
تعداد زیاد
governmental banks and
تمام
moving
پروژه های
towards
بانکی
banks
که
from the
من تو این
public
10
sector.
سال
He
دارم
saw that and
میبینم
he didn't want to
افرادی هستن که
be
تو
behind on
بانک
that
ملت
movement.
بودن
So
اون
that's
پروژه ها
why
رو
we see
دیدن
the
و
offers
الان دارن تو
change.
بانک
We see
های
the
دیگه سمت دارن
attitude of Millet
مشغولن و
Bank
سعی
change. And
میکنن
most
مارکت رو
projects that
بکنن.
I see
یکی من
in
میگم ما دیدگاه
banking
آماری یا
are
دید
from those
آماری
people
نداریم از
who were
کشورهایی که
present in
نگاه
Millet
میکنیم
Bank at that
مقدار
time and
ازشون
saw these
یادمون میره
projects take
میبینیم.
place.
من
That's
مثلا
why I
توی
want
شرکت
foreign
ویدربادی که
companies
تو
to be
ایران
active in the
دفتر داره کار
market.
میکنم
I
میبینم
see.
این
I
کسب و
actually
بازار به
work
چه شکلی
myself in
داره شروع
a
میشه و بعدش
foreign
هم
company
نتیجهش
who
رو
has
میبینیم.
office
الان یه
here.
شرکت
I
ایرانی
see
هست
how
سهام
their
پایین
market
خیلی
research
شیکی داره.
projects are
منظورم
developed
اینه
and
که اگر
used.
وقتی خارجی ها
Uh,
باشن این
as an
تبلیغات
Iranian, I
رایج
would try
میشه
to
چون
do
نیاز
that
به
in the Iranian market
دستاوردهاشون
as well. I
دارن
would
نیاز
learn
به
that.
اضافه ای
And
نیست که
these
حالا
companies have
امسال انجام
this in their
بدیم.
agenda,
هر
market
چقدر
research.
بازار رو
It's
بیشتر
not something they
میشناسن
think about to
برای به
do every
دست
year or
آوردن
not.
دیتا باز
The
بیشتر
more they
هزینه
know the
داره. به نظر
market,
من یه
the
پارامتر
bigger they
خیلی
are,
مهمیه.
the more they
شرکت ها
spend
هر
on
چقدر
knowing the
بزرگترن
market
و
and
بازار رو
data,
بیشتر میشناسن بیشتر تو
which is something
توافقشون
which
هزینه
is
داره
a
و به
paradoxical
نظرم
idea in
رشد
itself.
برندها و حتی
And I
کشورها
believe that
نسبت به
growth of
گسترش و
companies
سهمیت
and
تحقیقات بازارشون داره. خیلی ساده
brands and
میتونیم
also
منشأ
companies
برندهای موفق دنیا رو
is
پیدا
directly
کنیم و
correlated to
میزان
direct
هزینه
research and
کردی
how much
تحقیقات
data
بازار تو
they
اون برند
have.
یا حتی
And that
اون
is something
کشور رو
tangible
هم
that you can
به
research
دست بیاریم و
yourself.
این
You can
نسبت
see
مستقیم
what
رو
companies
ببینیم.
use market research and how much growth they've had. That's also something that is directly correlated to the countries' growth, the use of market research. Well, thank you. I would like to actually add a few things to your points. The reason we have more data extraction and data usage in our market today is because we are in the fourth generation of capitalization called platform-based capitalization. and I believe it's the data is going to be our new type of resource instead of oil or stuff like that, because it can be used to expand the market in a larger way. And Mr. Atarzada has actually got a quote about this. He says that basically says that we even need a rebranding on the diplomatic front. Even if we need to change our flag, we need to do that. We need to rebrand and attract the trust of foreign companies and foreign agents to our country. Ms. Gurshani says data actually creates more questions. The more data we have, the more questions we're going to ask, and that in itself requires us to create more and more data. Yes, exactly. And something else that I want to talk about is in this market, it is not something that's expensive. I believe for startups and companies that are just starting, it is expensive. It is very hard to spend money and to just find out if they're going to succeed or not. And the money is not the money they would have to spend. They would rather just spend work on the company for 10 months or a year and find out what's going to happen that way. Let's go back to my points with Mr. Barghaei. What your company's philosophy is to gather different reports in one place and just without any insight. What they do is they sell the gathered reports or accumulated reports from the world without any insight, which would end up cheaper than commissioning a project itself. But whenever I talk to a market research agency in Iran, they have like a moral constraint. If they do a project for another company, they're not really going to provide that data for other companies, which is moral. But can the first company allow other companies to use that data? Like I would rather see them use that data productively for making. I would rather these companies use the data to make
من یه توضیح
long-term plans for
در مورد بحث
important
برجام
things.
بدم
Mr. Varghai starts.
اشاره
I
کردم.
would actually like to touch
ببینید
on
وقتی
the
هست
points that
ما
were raised
در
before.
دهه
It's a
60
while.
اینجوری بار اومدیم
Well,
که
we're all
کشور رو میشناسیم
60s kids. We were born in
60
that
مصداق
generation,
دولت رو
and we
داریم
all know the
80
country.
فرهنگی رو
And
داریم یکی دو
from that
ساله
decade
تو بحث
onwards,
ما
they've
همیشه
had
میگن که دیگه
problems with the
دولت
governments, foreign
قدرت درست
agents
کنه
not being in here. And I believe we should just
یک وضع
examine
موجود
our
رو
current
که
situation, and we should
در
just
حالت
examine
بدون
this
اپتیموم
situation
چطور میتونیم استفاده کنیم
and
تو هر
see
بحثی من
ideally
اصولا
what
خواهش
can we
میکنم
do right now
از
in
دوستان
every
دیگه هم
field. And
حضور
I would
دارن
like to
همه این
ask
مسائلی
everyone
رو با
here
مشکلات
attending and watching.
بین‌المللی کشورمون
We
آشناییم
know
که
the
دولت
problems in
دولت‌ها
international with
اقوار مختلف
international
خب
problems,
الان
the
یه نفر
problems
میخواد
of
استارتاپ بزنه
other
یک
governments
شرکت
that have
هست
with
20 تا
us.
شرکت تعرفه
Let's
بندی
imagine one
اضافه
person
کنه
wants
حوزه‌مو
to
باید
start a
چیکار کنه
startup.
خب ما تو همین
What
حوزه
should
باید
they
با
do?
شرکت‌هایی که همین
What
شرکت‌هایی
should
که
they
تو
do in
بحث
this
استارتاپ
situation?
فرمودیم
Even in this
بالاخره
situation, we've
تو
seen
ایران هم
companies
موجش
grow
رسید و
and
رشد
develop.
کردن
As you
شرکت‌ها
said, the fourth generation, yes, that
چطور از
even
این
even that reached
حوزه‌ها باید
Iran, and
استفاده
we
کرد این
saw
مثالی که شما گفتین
startups growing.
خیلی
So how can we use data
توضیحاتی
in this
شاید باشه
situation?
شما از گلرنگ
The example you said
گفتین که کسی
was
وارد
bit. You
بازار
were a bit
میشه
naive to ask
جهان
that.
هم همچین چیزی
It's
نیست
hard to imagine to ask a big company in Iran
اطلاعاتی که
to
شرکت های
just
بزرگ در
have their
واقع ارائه
data
میدن در
be
واقع
public.
توریز اطلاعاتشون رو
Even
میذارن
global
اونلاین و
companies that
شرکت
we
های بعدی هم
have
میشناسن
reports
در
of
ایران هم همینه پس
what they
یک
publish is what they
فرصت
didn't really
تجاری
need
یک
and didn't want
شرکت
to use, which
باید
is the same in
ببیند
Iran.
که وارد
If a
این
company
بازار
wants
بشه
to
مثل شرکت های
enter a
بزرگ
market,
تحقیقات بازار در
they at
دنیا
least
هست
should
که یک
see an
فرصتی
opportunity.
میبینن میان از اون
Like
پول در
most
میارن
market research
من یه
agencies in the
مثال به شما
world,
بزنم
they see
یک
opportunities
شرکتی
in
من
markets
خدمتتون
and they
بگم
would, after that, they would
یک
enter the market and use
پروژه‌ای
those.
در
As an
سمت
example, let
زراعت
me
از
see.
دانشگاه
In
تکنولوژی و هاروارد
2007, there
اومده
was a
بود بازنشسته
project,
که اسمش بود
shared project between MIT and
Business
Harvard
Prices
called
Project
BPP,
این
Billions
پروژه
Prices
چی بود
Project.
اینا گفتن که
So
اساتید
what was that
نشسته
project?
بودن گفتن ما نمیتونیم
They were
منتظر
economy
دولت های قدرت
professors.
تورم رو
They said that we
باشیم
can't
دولت ها
really
خیلی
wait
مهمن
on the government
یا شاید
to
صدمه
announce
بگیرن از
the
پلتفرم هایی که
percentage of
الان هستن
inflation.
آمازون
They
هست
either don't
والمارت
really
هست اینا
give
تمام
a full
پلتفرم ها
report or
اینا
they might
اومدن
even
تمام
announce
دیتا های اینا
false
رو جمع
numbers.
آوری کردن
They
و
used
که به
platforms like
آمار
Amazon
تورم
and
ملی برسن
others
شروع این کار با
to actually
گذرنامه‌ای که
reach
تو اوایل 2010
the
در
number
آرژانتین
of
توسط
inflation
تورم در واقع ابرتورم
that goes through every year.
بود و اینا اون رو
The
کسر
start of that
و
was
در عرض
actually in
5 سال دیدن
Argentina.
که
They've had
داره
a
بهتر
little
از
recession
دولت ها
in
از طریق
2010,
همین پلتفرم های
and
دیجیتال این آمار رو در میارن
after a while
پروژه
they saw that
بعدیشون ونزوئلا بود که
they were reaching the number of
توضیح دادم
inflation better
بعد
than
از یک
governments
پروژه
did,
دانشگاهی
and their
تبدیل
next
شد به
project
گروه
was
استارتاپ
Venezuela.
شد به اسم
At the time,
پاریس
this
استارت که الان
university
تحت
project
اجراست
was
و الان یک
uh,
شرکت چند
founded
میلیاردی
as a
دلاری که
startup,
کارش
but
اینه
now it
در
is a
تمام دنیا همینطور که
multi-billion
دارای
dollar company.
خودمونم میاد
That's what it
استخراج
does.
میکنه سورساشو چین
Even
تمام
in Iran, it's
کشورها
active.
آمار
If in
تورم رو خیلی
China, in other
سریعتر از
companies,
دولت ها و
they just
خیلی
reach the
دقیق تر داره گزارش میده
yearly
و
annual
میفروشه اینو و داره
inflation
خب
rates
این خودش یه
faster
کلیت
than the
هست در
governments do,
اقتصاد
but
ایران
they're
که
selling this.
اقتصاد
It's
بسیار
something for
نامتعادل
sale.
و غیر
That's
قابل پیش
something
بینی میشه و
we
در
can
حال
also do
پس
in
این یک
Iranian economy, even though it's
موردیه که یک
volatile and
شرکتی که به
moves
دیتا
quickly.
دسترسی
And
داره
that's
یا
also another
میتونه این
example
دیتا
of
رو
a company
استخراج
that
کنه این
has
رو با
access to
اقتصاد میگیم
data or
من خودم
can extract data,
به
can
خود
turn this
شرکت های
into
تحقیقات بازار میگم
economy.
که شاید ماها
I'm
از
telling
طرف
this to companies that are in the business and the market.
عباس عنایتی عزیز
Maybe
گفتن که شرکت های خارجی در
just like
خب
Mr.
بسیاری از
Enayati
شرکت هایی
said,
که الان هستن از ما درس
maybe foreign
گرفتن
companies should enter the
خود
market,
خانم
but
فروشانی
the
مثلا گفتن که
existing
ما
companies that are in the market right now in
بیشتر تو
Iran
شرکت
are
تحقیقات
companies
بازار
that have
مشابه
learned
با شرکت
from
های خارجی هم که
these
سالهای
companies have
گذشته در
learned their
ایران
lessons
بودن
and have
خب ما که میگیم
some
اب
of the
نداره
market research
برادر ما هم
agencies
کار
are
کردیم
actually
چرا
branches
به
of
این
foreign
رئیسن
companies.
من
And so
مشکل
these companies have
اقتصادی
worked
رو
with foreign
در جایی که
companies
شما مشکل
and they
اقتصادی رو
know
در استارتاپ ها میبینید در
they have the
شرکت های تحقیقات
expertise.
بازار هم هست
I
یکی
myself
مسائلی
believe
که
that
الان
that
ما
is a problem of the
تحقیقاتمون
economy. As you can see,
20
as you can
هزار
say, there is a
خانه
problem
داره
of
اینوستور
economy and
کوچیک
financial
نشسته
problems
باشه
in
بلد
startup
نیست که
businesses.
بره
We
شرکت
also
تحقیقات
have
بازار
that
رو
in
در بیاره
market
در
research
خیلی از
agencies as
کشور این
well.
هزینه
Market
لازمه
research
این رو
agencies are
شما
also
بس
taking a
بدین به یه
hit
پروژه به هزینه
in
های
terms of
خیلی بیشتری
financial
که شرکت های تحقیقات
capital.
بازار دارن متحمل میشن تنها راه
If I
خلاص
were to
برای
wrap up
استفاده
my
از
points,
اینکه جناب قنبری
the
از
only
از
way,
نظر من استارتاپ ها بتونن
dear
از
Mr. Ghanbari,
تحقیقات
the
بازار
only way
استفاده
to for the
کنن
startups to use market
ما شرکت
research
های تحقیقات بازار
is
باید
that
استارتاپ ها رو به
us, the
عنوان
market research
فرصت
companies,
تجاری
see
ببینیم که بریم براشون
these startups to
پلتفرم
see them as a
ابز یا
financially
هر
viable
پروژه‌ای تعریف
opportunity,
کنیم با
and
شما
then
موافقم که
after that
پروژه
they
هایی
can
که دارن
make
انجام میشه توی حوزه
appropriate
تحقیقات بازار
suggestions like apps and
تئوری
stuff. And I do
آسونه
agree with you
اما
that
استارتاپ ها
some
خیلی
of
سخت
the
کردن
some
و
of the costs
نمیتونن
and
این
ideas
هزینه
that
ها رو
market
با
research
شرکت های تحقیقات
agencies
بازار
put
بپذیرن
forward are basically impossible for startup companies. They're looking at it too idealistically. Miss Khrushchev starts. Yes, part of it is what you said, but the other parts, some parts of it are also that we need to do syndicative researches that are continuous and can be offered to startups more cheaply and more cheap. But as you said, they should be business opportunities and they should have the opportunity to have income. But yes, you're correct. But there needs to be some sponsors and some capital to support these startups because actually doing these reports are not well free. And as we've seen over the years, these companies more often than not have a problem of liquidity. They might have problems if their customer base dropping, and unfortunately they're late on their payments, or maybe they don't have enough capital for it, or they don't pay enough. They don't allocate enough resources to market research, and these are problems that we're dealing with on a daily basis. I believe the cultural aspect of it is there and it exists, but the motivation and the support that it needs is not there. I believe the expertise is also there, but us as market research agencies don't have the financial support to just do research and do stuff like that. We don't have the support to stay afloat and to just do researches and work and then wait to see if they're sold or not. even if to wait to see if they're profitable or not. So I believe if we work together, we might be able to find productive solutions to that. Maybe divide the work, so maybe that both parties would be involved in the cost, would paying the cost. So Ghanbari starts. I believe that we're nearing market research agency trade association elections these days, right? So I believe that I want this to be in the consortium, in the general approach of the trade association. I want general reports that are out there in the market to be accessible to startups, maybe with a cheaper price, because they're not looking for very specific reports. They're looking for to know their services, are they required or not? Do they have a space in the market or not? And I want that to be in the consortium. And I would ask all three of you to make them accessible. Maybe not for free, but maybe cheaper. Mr. Enayati starts. Most of our talk was about companies. Let's go on and move on to startups. There are a lot of solutions for startups. If I'm a startup in my early development, if I haven't gotten that much financial backing and I don't have that much budget, I can't really do market research on my own. And this has happened a lot. We've had a couple of startups approach us, and when you speak to them, um, you'll see that there are in early stages, or at least at an early enough stage, that market research is not going to be useful for them. The data is not going to be useful for them, and they might just waste their budgets. These startups don't really need that much of exact reports. Most of the time, when you speak to them, they've got very nice ideas, but they overestimate the market and believe that in just a few years they might be a very big brand. But if an unbiased analysis, an unbiased expert would be able to tell them, are they overestimating their market, or they are the factors for their criteria they're examining correct or not, what adjustments they need to make. And yes, that's what they need most of the time, not exact reports. So there are a number of solutions for the startups. And first, they can just do consultation, and they don't really need exact and expensive reports. And also, secondly, they can share the data with other companies. Sometimes we get approached by trade associations, and they tell us that there are very small countries operating underneath us, so we would rather just do a commission from you as a trade associations, and have those data be available to all the companies that are working with us. And we offer these services all the time. We offer them if you want to examine shelves in the market, or you want to examine uh, your customer base. You want to what problem would there be if a couple of rivals in the same market use the same source of data? I don't know why there's this perception that we need our own exclusive source of data. If all companies or some rivals agree to have the same sort of data, it would be better. And yeah, we can have our own plans separately, each company for their own. But that if we do that, if we have one source of data, it would be it would be great for companies and brands as a way to decrease their costs. And there are also way more solutions. Thank you. Uh, Ms. Krushani starts. Yes, Mr. Enayati is completely in the right. We have an obscured perspective on things. We rarely see companies cooperating together, sharing and cooperating is a rarity in business. For example, I have always expressed as as a wish, to be honest. It's something that I've experienced in France myself. And it was that 50 to 20 laboratories, pharmaceutical companies they were actual rivals and competitors. If there was something to be gained for all of them, they would share the data that they have. Like 15 or 20 of them made a basically club together and made commissions to a company, the company that I was working at, and the reports that they received were most of them were for all of them, and a small percentage of the reports were exclusive to a laboratory or a pharmaceutical company on their own. But most of the reports would be available to all of the laboratories. They would know how much market share they have. Each and every drug would know how much they're sold, how much of them are prescribed, and all other stuff. Unfortunately, that is a rarity in Iran, and I wished that I could actually pitch these ideas. I actually have pitched them. Uh, I've told them let's get together and commission a project all together because the cost is a bit too much and they can't really do them on their own. But it's something that hasn't happened yet. Mr. Ghanbari, thanks, Ms. Paroushani. Mr. Enayati, if you have any last statements, please go on. I'd like to thank you and also anyone responsible here and people who are active here. If I were to wrap up, a problem that we have, just like Mr. Enayati and Paroushani said, and market research on its own is an industry.
خود تحقیقات بازار هم یه صنعته به نظر
This cultural push that we're trying to make on other companies is something that we can also have in market research. I think we can provide startups with platforms to acquire their market research easier and more and cheaper. And yes, most market research companies have more traditional projects and stuff like that, and they're not really active in the data-driven aspects of it. And yes, market research companies are moving towards that, but not as of yet. They're not as strong as they need to be as of yet. A solution that I see for this problem is more interaction of market research agencies with high-tech companies in Iran. And also, the other one is bring more consolidation for these companies, high-tech companies. Mr. Ghanbari starts. I would like to say an example in one of my experiences. Well, I don't do market research. I do value or price evaluation. One of the companies that was commissioning me for their market evaluation was a cigarettes company that wanted to establish their own production line. You may not believe it, but I looked everywhere, from other cigarettes companies to other companies, maybe even cigarette shops, but I didn't really find out, or I couldn't find out how much cigarette was being consumed in our society. And this is something weird that we have. Like, we don't even know how much cigarettes we consume in our country. And now, that was just cigarettes. There are many more examples. I really wanted to speak to you more, but 40 minutes was not really enough. But I promise you these conversations are going to continue taking place, and we're working with Mr. Atazadeh in Tapso company to even get you there to share your experiences there as well. Mr. Enayati Stars, I'd like to thank everyone involved here and also the people responsible for Inatex and the organizers and and most people
هر از گاهی داره برگزار میشه
involved.
واقعا برای مقداری
And I believe that these
کمک
sessions and these conversations we have
مدیریت
gives me and my
سرمایه‌گذاری
colleagues more hope
شرکت‌های
that we'll
کشور
see more
وضعیت
improvement
نسبت
in
به قبل بهتر
the
بشه.
state of Iran's economy and our companies as well. Ms. Krushani starts. I don't want to say too much. Everyone said what needed to be said. I'd like to thank Inatex and you and Ms. Atarzadeh, the organizers as well. Thank you for having these sessions and these conversations and organizing them. They'll plant the seeds of hope, at least, for startups and also researchers like myself. Thank you. Thank you all who listened to us as well. Goodbye.